Someone has given the Lufenians the power to time travel, reset the world to any state that they want, and what seems like almost unlimited power. But this person's identity is only briefly alluded to in Final Fantasy Stranger of Paradise Lufenian reports and the Fool's Missives. I've got some pretty wild theories on who the collaborator might be, and one of them is so crazy it would potentially canonize an entire different series into the Final Fantasy world. So let's go over my top 5 theories of who the collaborator might be. If you haven't had a chance yet, my previous 2 videos broke down the story of Final Fantasy Strangers of Paradise, as well as who the Lufenians are. I'll leave a link to both of those in the description and the pinned comment under this video. Before we get into my crazy theories, there are a few things that we do know about the collaborator. These are little tidbits that we know for a fact from Final Fantasy Strangers of Paradise. Number 1. The collaborator is someone who has an in-depth knowledge about human nature and emotion, as well as an understanding of the link between human emotions and light and darkness. In some of the reports, the collaborator has explained to the Lufenians why their experiments have been failing. Speaking on this, they relate to the nature of humans, and more specifically, light and darkness. One such example is from report number 6, which states that the information our collaborator has shared with us, it is the uncertain and unstable nature of human emotions that is the primary cause of our current lack of success. To expand on this, our collaborator has explained that the light of order and the darkness of chaos have but one source: the emotions generated by the human heart. The balance of the world can easily tip towards light or dark so long as humans exist to weight the scales. This clearly shows that the collaborator must be someone who understands humans, their emotions, and has vast knowledge about light and darkness in the world. Number 2. Another report number 8, tells us of how the collaborator proposed a new project to the Lufenians. This time he suggested that they allow the strangers to deal with the fiends, then pump the world full of darkness, changing every human into monsters and allowing them to deal with them all. In other words, kill them all. This strongly speaks to their attitude towards the world and humans. While we don't know their true motivation behind the plan, it does present an attitude of not caring about others and only caring about their own end goal. Number 3. Finally, the last big clue we have on the collaborator is that after gifting the dimensional crystal matrix to the Lufenians, they were instructed that each time they perform a reset on the world, a large amount of energy would be generated, and that this energy was to be given to the collaborator. It doesn't mention why they need this energy, but in video game worlds, needing a ton of energy doesn't usually lead to good things. So, keeping all that in mind, let's get to my theories. Number 5. Cid of the Lufene. Cid is probably one of the most obvious guesses as to who the collaborator might be. A version of Cid has existed in almost every Final Fantasy game to some extent, and in the original Final Fantasy I game, Cid was mentioned by several townspeople. He supposedly developed the first airship, the one that they find and then use in the game, and was the one who helped the Lufenians master the Wind Crystal, allowing them to create floating cities and technological wonders. This means that he most likely was a scientist, and might have had the technological know-how to create something advanced like a dimensional crystal matrix, or possibly even time travel. Even stranger is the fact that all throughout Stranger of Paradise there is not a single mention of Cid at all, not even in lore or passing comments, so that absence could be related to him being the collaborator. Now, since Strangers of Paradise has combined so many different Final Fantasy games, looking at Cids from other games also could give us some clues. To me, the biggest and best link for Cid to be the collaborator would be if we look at Cid from the Final Fantasy Dissidia series. In those games, he was a great scientist who studied the powers of harmony and discord. Light and darkness, anyone? He created mannequins. These were mindless automatons that looked like heroes from other worlds, and he eventually found a memory ritual that would allow him to infuse these mannequins with memories, giving them a personality and a sense of self. One such mannequin was named, you guessed it, Chaos. See where I'm going with this? Cid and his wife raised Chaos like a son. When grown, Chaos was used for war and experimentation, which warped his views of the world. When Cid and his wife tried to intervene, Cid's wife was shot and killed, causing Chaos to become so angry his hatred opened a portal to the interdimensional rift, pulling himself, Cid, and a mannequin that looked like his mother, she was named Cosmos, into this new world. Here, Sid meets a god who grants him the power to live without a body so that he could observe and study the wars going on in this world from afar. Sid spends a long time here studying and trying to create a perfect mannequin on his own, which actually ends up being this world's warrior of light. Dissidia has a very long and complicated story from there on out, and I won't get into it for the sake of time, but an interesting tidbit is that late in the series, Sid is trapped in a nightmare realm and 5 warriors are summoned to save him. After finally being freed, he returns to World B, where Chaos and the mannequin who looked like his wife were, and asks her to join him, saying that he was going to start a journey to a new realm. One last small piece of evidence is in the Final Fantasy Memories of Heroes book, which was another retelling of the Final Fantasy I story. When the Warriors of Light find the airship, they actually find a manual with a note from Sid, entrusting the airship to the saviors who will one day come. Later on, the robots in the Mirage Tower play a video for the Warriors of Light, showing Sid evacuating the people from the flying fortress using the airship after Tiamat attacked. How would he know that this was going to happen if he didn't have some way of knowing the future? Looking at all this evidence, it really does sound like Sid of the Lufane could be the collaborator. He had the technical know-how to create things like the interdimensional matrix, he was already studying light and darkness, and being married and raising a son would give him a pretty good understanding of humans and their emotions. However, that does still leave us with the why he would want that much energy. If we're following the Dissidia timeline, then maybe he needs that energy to travel between dimensions, or for some new experiment he might be working on. The other major piece working against this theory is that in one of the reports it makes it seem like the collaborator is someone the Lufenians do not know. Sid being a Lufenian, it would be pretty odd that they wouldn't know or recognize him. You could argue that Sid may have created a new mannequin that he put his own soul into. This could then look completely different, but again, that's kind of a stretch. Sid is also generally shown as a hero or a good guy, so being so callous as to want to destroy all humans would be pretty out of character for him. So let's move on to theory number 4. Number 4. Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is another recurring character in the Final Fantasy series. He's been in almost every single game in some form or another, and it's sort of not quite canon that most of his appearances across all these games are the same person. He is sometimes an ally, sometimes an optional boss or a summoned monster, but he is usually depicted as a wandering swordsman with a vast collection of famous and powerful swords. He is known to use the power of the Rift to travel to different worlds where he seeks out the most powerful of swords to add to his collection. Oftentimes, he is accompanied by a partner named Enkidu, who also appears in different forms but is usually canine and green. So why would Gilgamesh be the collaborator? Well, there's no real neat and tidy answer for that. We know he can travel the rift between dimensions, so he already has that going for him. It's also possible that he could have taught the Lufenians how to do the same, but seems a little more of a stretch. Since Gilgamesh has been around a very long time and interacted with humans all across dimensions, it is possible that he may know a thing or two about human nature and the balance of light and darkness, so you could check that box. However, he's never really shown to be technological or have some kind of crazy power to reset the world, so believing that he was able to give the crystal matrix to the Lufenians is again another bit of a stretch. Plus, we have no idea what he would want with all that energy. He's never really been depicted as a power or energy hungry, just an avid sword collector. Perhaps he needs the energy to create a way back to his original home in Final Fantasy V, or maybe to feed Enkidu? It's also been shown that Gilgamesh will be featured in the second DLC for Strangers of Paradise that comes out, like, today. And from the small glimpse we've seen, he comes to Jack warning him of a dimensional disturbance that may end their world, which definitely doesn't seem like someone or something the collaborator would do. So, let's move on. Number 3, A. Tetsuya Nomura. Kidding! Or am I really? Tetsuya Nomura has had his hand in so many Final Fantasy games and other series throughout his career, he clearly has to be the puppet master behind everything, right? In all seriousness, Nomura is well known for almost every game he's worked on. He has big ideas and has come up with some of the most convoluted and difficult stories to follow, looking at you, Kingdom Hearts. These next few entries are all because Tetsuya Nomura has had a hand in creating all of these, and there might just be something linking them together. Number 3, Enna Kros. While probably a much less known character, Enna is a god from World of Final Fantasy. She is the creator of the world Grimoire and other realms of fantasy. Once she has created these worlds, she usually chooses not to interfere with them, as was shown in the game World of Final Fantasy. When building Grimoire, she explained that she took glimpses of many other worlds outside her own domain. Then she cherry-picked the elements she liked and integrated those figments into her own creation. This sounds a lot like the world of the Stranger of Paradise, as the Lufenians had the power to recreate parts of other worlds on their own. These are all from other Final Fantasy games. At the center of Enna worlds is supposedly a crystal, which she can peer into and sift through the figments of other worlds to find souls with the potential to protect her worlds from threats. This again sounds very similar to the Lufenians and their own Stranger project. While we assume that Jack and company are Lufenians because they came from there, it's never explicitly stated, so it's possible that they could have been handpicked from other worlds as well. Enna also uses different forms based on which world she is visiting, so she could appear to the Lufenians as anyone she wants to. In one cutscene, we see Enna speaking with another god about how they battled for the position of god in that world, and they made a big mess and destroyed a lot of stuff. This little piece of information tells us a lot about Enna's thoughts on humans and her lack of respect for their life and the world around them. Nomura worked as a character designer on World of Final Fantasy and helped create Enna, so it would be a neat little nod to World of Final Fantasy if she were the collaborator. However, she has no known motivation for all the energy created from the resets, and while she is a god and may have the ability to reset the world, we haven't seen her use this kind of ability, so it doesn't feel as likely that she would be the collaborator. Number 2. Shinryu. Shinryu is an interesting one on this list. Originally appearing as a super boss in Final Fantasy V, Shinryu is a spirit dragon, god dragon, or divine dragon, take your pick. It has appeared in various different Final Fantasy games, sometimes depicted as a counterpart to the other super boss, Omega. A lot of times they are associated with the powerful weapon, Ragnarok. Shinryu is known to be a mysterious entity with a crystalline body and travels to different dimensions. He has been linked to both the interdimensional rift and the void where he lives. While we don't know for certain, this seems to be where the Lufenians may live now as well, since they seem to be someplace out of time and separate from the world. In the Dissidia series, Shinryu is a wandering god who happens to stop to rest in World B. He meets Sid of the Lufane, Cosmos, and Chaos there, and forms a pact with Sid to try and help to get him home. The deal consists of Cosmos and Chaos going to war with each other, while Sid gives up his body to become an immortal soul. Shinryu's role in the war that would follow was to revive the warriors of Cosmos and Chaos each time they fell, a process that they would call purification. However, each time he did this, he would absorb the memories and expended strength from the fallen warriors, making himself grow stronger. I'm sure you can already see the similarities between the two stories. Shinryu has the power to perform a purification, which seems very much like a reset that the Lufenians do each time the balance of light and darkness get out of whack. He absorbs memories and energy to make himself stronger, which is the only thing that we know the collaborator has requested from the Lufenians in return. As well, he takes their memories. Memories are a big deal to the Lufenians and are mentioned all throughout the reports. Memories take a lot of energy to transfer, so they wipe the stranger's memories each time they are sent back. This definitely seems like things that Shinryu could have helped them with. The last link that makes it possible that Shinryu could be the collaborator is that Dissidia was originally envisioned by Tetsuya Nomura, who also came up with the concept for Final Fantasy Stranger of Paradise. Not only that, but the Dissidia series was developed by Team Ninja, same as Stranger of Paradise. It could very well be possible that Nomura, being so familiar with all the characters in Dissidia, decided that Shinryu would be a great fit for their new game as well. The one thing that makes me doubt that Shinryu is the collaborator is that he may not know about the inner workings of humans and their emotions, or at least not very well. He's said across various Dissidia games how he wished he could experience the world like one of the humans, not a divine being from on high, and has only ever spent time observing humanity from afar through the wars. This would give him a very skewed view of the world and might not lead to the kind of insight that he would require. This leads us to my craziest, but most exciting theory. Number 1, the Master of Masters. Yes, I am talking about that Master of Masters. the hooded guy who's been behind all the stuff happening in every Kingdom Hearts game so far. And yes, while we don't know who he is, there is some pretty strong evidence as to why he could be the collaborator. First of all, I just want to reiterate, Nomura had a huge hand in creating Kingdom Hearts, and still does to this day. His stories are confusing, complex, and oftentimes seem like they make absolutely no sense until years later when some little thread pulls everything together. This, my friends, might just be that thread. Final Fantasy used to be a huge part of Kingdom Hearts. The beloved, well-known characters were used to bring in existing fans to the new series and to lend a hand and let everyone get to know the new Kingdom Hearts original characters better. Over the years and games, as the original characters became more loved and well-known, they started pulling back from the Final Fantasy characters because there just wasn't enough time for everyone. Nomura, in an interview, has said that he knows parts of the fanbase miss having the Final Fantasy characters in the Kingdom Hearts games, and with Kingdom Hearts 4, they are trying to find a balance of how they can manage both. But what if they're also trying to bring Kingdom Hearts into the Final Fantasy series? The Master of Masters is a very unknown character, even in Kingdom Hearts. In Kingdom Hearts, we only ever see him shrouded in shadow and covered by his trench coat. That being said, the Master of Master has been in almost every Kingdom Hearts game in some form or another, and we learn little bits from each new game. We know that the Master of Masters seeks to end the fight with the darkness once and for all, and to defeat it for good. He's lived a long time through many previous battles that were all lost to the darkness. In each battle, he's lost many people that he cared about. This has hardened him and made him bitter and willing to do whatever it takes to win, without his heart being clouded by feelings. He has admitted that he is not heroic despite his good intentions, and that he is fully aware that his plans will cause a great deal of suffering and destruction. This lines up pretty well with what we know of the Collaborator. They have given the Lufenians the knowledge and the means to be able to reshape and fix their world, even if it means hurting the citizens of Cornelia and the planet over and over again. The Lufenians want to do good, or to make a utopia for them to live happily ever after in, and the Collaborator seems perfectly okay with this idea as he's willing to help. In Kingdom Hearts back cover, we learn that after studying the X-Blade, the Master of Masters used the skills he learned to create Keyblades for his apprentices, as well as a book he called the Book of Prophecies. He combined the Book of Prophecies with his own gazing eye, which would allow him to see anything the eye sees at any point in the future. He then copied this book for his apprentices so he could learn everything that they would learn in the future. This clearly shows he has some kind of connection to the future and would have the ability to see Calamity coming in his battle with the darkness. It's very possible he was able to gift one of these books to the Lufenians so they could learn of the future of their world as well, thus giving the Master of Masters even more knowledge. The Master of Masters made sure to send special people resistant to the darkness out into different worlds to collect energy and light to help rebuild the planet that was destroyed during the original Keyblade War. This again sounds very familiar to the Lufenians and the Stranger Project, sending agents who could resist the darkness to fight and restore light to the world around them. The Master of Masters also has revealed that he has a plan to defeat the darkness once and for all, but that it is complex and will take several lifetimes to realize. He revealed he has spoken to the darkness several times, though neither of them got through to the other due to their unconventional views. He then revealed his plan, that because darkness has shut its form to attack people's hearts directly, it would slowly begin to fade away. There are 13 darknesses, and that they could be destroyed once they attained physical form. This is why he raised apprentices, so that their hearts could be strong enough to lock away the 7 strongest iterations of darkness and ensure that future generations of light would defeat them whenever they attacked, while the 5 remaining of the 6 would be locked in the Union leaders, leaving the last one to be caged in Data Daybreak Town. Again, this lines up very well with Strangers of Paradise. Jack and his friends all contain the darkness within themselves, giving the darkness and hate a form for the Warriors of Light to put an end to once and for all. Could this have been part of the Master of Masters' plan all along? With the Master of Masters' plan in place, he then disappears into Quadratum to ensure no one would be able to find him. While we've seen Quadratum looks like a modern-day large city, who's to say he isn't able to transport himself to other dimensions as well, like where the Lufenians have gone? The final big piece of evidence is that throughout all the Kingdom Hearts games, anytime anyone is trying to summon Kingdom Hearts, a power so great that it would allow them to rewrite reality itself, they need a large amount of energy and light. This would line up with what the collaborator is doing, taking energy from every reset, preparing to summon Kingdom Hearts, and wipe out darkness forever. How absolutely mind-blowing would it be to canonize and bring Kingdom Hearts officially into the Final Fantasy worlds? I know my mind would be blown. Well, those are my crazy theories. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Hopefully we will get an official answer as to who the collaborator is next year when the third DLC releases. Right now, all we know it's called is A Different Future, and that makes me think it has to do with Jack and crew changing the future of Final Fantasy I as we know it. Anyway, thanks again so much for watching, and as always, happy gaming.